Señor Presidente.
President, our delegation would like to congratulate you on chairing this 12th session of the Human Rights Council. On the occasion of the presentation of the report of James Anaya, Special Rapporteur on the situation of human rights and fundamental freedoms of indigenous peoples, our delegation on behalf of the government of Canada would like to welcome the report and refer to it in its subsequent comments. Relating to the observations on the community of Charcolapava and other communities affected by the hydroelectric project Chan 75 being built by AES Panama, we will highlight the efforts made by the current government of Panama so that we can respond to the report, a result of the 3-day visit carried out in January of the current year, a visit which was carried out on the express invitation of Panama. It's a report which Panama has responded to and we can now add to with more recent developments. The experience of Panama has no precedent. It's an effort which will serve as a model and a guide in other situations, other similar situations. We have found mechanisms and innovative mechanisms for exchange and cooperation to improve dialogue and consultation between the national government and indigenous peoples, which will contribute to effective participation in the drawing up and in the evaluation of legislative measures and administrative measures, which will affect the way they are directly implemented on the ground. On this recent statement, it's been of great interest to His Excellency Riccardo Martinelli, President of the Republic. And also the Special Rapporteur has said that he's very willing to work hand in hand on this national progress to make suggestions and observations to help find an agreement between all of us. Since last July, the government of Panama has held 5 meetings with representatives of the affected indigenous communities and with the top management of AES Panama, aiming to know more about the advances and the difficulties in the implementation of the project. Bearing in mind past events, on the 11th of August of this year, the executive created a high-level commission to set up a dialogue with the affected communities, between the communities and the company, chaired by the Deputy President, Vice President of the Republic, and Minister for Foreign Affairs, Juan Carlos Varela, and the Deputy Minister for Government and Justice, Jorge Ricardo Fabrega, by representatives of the state, and made up by the representatives of indigenous communities. The Ombudsman was the guarantor of the dialogue. A time limit of 2 weeks was given to find a satisfactory agreement between the parties. The dialogue within the working group was hallmarked by a climate of mutual respect, and the discussions were detailed, and there were explanations provided. When further information was required, the affected parties were summoned to appear. There were meetings held with the National Police, firefighters, and the Ministry of Health. Now, if we consider the outcome of the high-level working group, then these are the most salient points. At the request of indigenous representatives, an updated survey was carried out on affected families. The information from the field were carried out by representatives of the Ministry of Social Development, the Ombudsman, and the Ministry of Health. The results were extremely valuable, and what came out of it was taken on board and accepted by members of the working group. On the detonations or explosions, a formal meeting was held with the Firefighters Association, and there was further investigation of these detonations as far as the project is concerned. It was decreed that these ought to strictly comply with the relevant standards. The Ministry of Health, supported by medical reports, concluded that open-cast detonations had no relationship with the health claims which had been made at the beginning of the dialogue. On alleged police abuse, the government instructed police in the areas of Boca del Toro that it should provide information on the deployment of units in the project areas. It also recommended that they include indigenous police officers, aiming to facilitate communication, to create a better climate of trust and lessen refusal by the communities in the project areas. It also recommended respect and maintaining a cooperative behaviour, non-intimidation and repression, as had been claimed by indigenous representatives. Relating to negotiations on compensation and relocation, the government instructed the company and indigenous representations to initiate discussions on the claims made on housing, resettlement and other benefits for affected families. On this point, let me share with you that we already have a draft agreement between the communities and the company. President, let me inform this Honourable Council that this very week the government and the parties concerned will sign and make public a public announcement on the agreement that they have reached. In one of the notes addressed to our government, it is stated, "We are not against development. We are demanding justice and respect for our human rights." This was what the indigenous representatives have said. In fact, it is responsibility of the state to ensure the rights of all citizens, including indigenous peoples. And this is one of the most clear examples of the recognition of our countries. Because, in fact, we have earmarked 5 regions for indigenous communities, representing 22% of our national territory. The government of Panama would like to re-emphasize its interest in respecting and abiding by international standards on the rights of indigenous peoples. As a government, we are not going to be turning back from guaranteeing the rights of indigenous